Ever feel like you're stuck? Like no matter what, you just can't escape.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. The life of Mary Eleanor Bowes. Back in the 1700s,
Wow.
one of the wealthiest women in all of Britain, but trapped, truly trapped in this awful marriage. And it was all thanks to her abusive husband.
I mean, talk about a story ripped from the headlines,
Yeah.
right?
18th century tabloid fodder for sure.
Yeah.
Scandal, scheming,
Yeah.
a woman's fight for freedom.
I mean, in a society that was totally against her.
Completely. We're going deep on this one.
Okay.
Pulling from a couple episodes of Noble Blood, a great podcast.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that one.
It goes into all the twists and turns of Mary Eleanor's life.
You know, it's amazing how some things just never change.
I know, right?
Like, you think about these historical figures, they're almost like larger-than-life characters, right? But when you really get into their stories, you see it's the same struggles we deal with today.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Power, expectations, want and control of your own life.
Absolutely.
Every era.
Okay, so let's rewind. Back to Mary Eleanor's early life. Born into crazy wealth. I mean, we're talking heiress to a coal fortune.
Wow.
Huge. But even as a young woman, she was super intellectually curious, especially about botany.
Oh, interesting. See, that's interesting because back then, women were expected to just find a husband,
Totally.
run a household.
Yep.
No one was encouraging them to be intellectual.
Right. So much pressure to fit in.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if those early experiences kind of fueled her later on.
Oh, maybe. To be defiant, to be different.
Exactly.
To break out of that box.
So picture this. 16 years old. Mary Eleanor is married off to the Earl of Strathmore.
Okay.
This guy was known as the beautiful Lord Strathmore.
Oh.
Charming, mysterious, the whole package.
Yeah.
But we know how those stories go, right? Sometimes that perfect surface hides something much darker.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Turns out the Earl was a gambler. Big time. And unfaithful. Didn't seem to appreciate Mary Eleanor's intellect at all.
Not a good combo.
Nope. Their marriage, to put it lightly, was a train wreck. 7 years in, the Earl dies. Tuberculosis.
Okay.
You'd think relief, right?
Yeah.
Finally free.
Yeah.
But then he leaves her this letter.
A letter.
And that's weird. He forgives her for her supposed follies, like she was to blame for their problems.
Wow.
But then he also warns her about choosing her next husband carefully.
Ooh. Almost like he knew something, right?
Yeah, it's almost creepy, like a premonition.
Yeah. Like, watch out.
So now Mary Eleanor, she's a widow,
Yeah.
mid-20s, has this taste of freedom.
Okay.
Throws herself back into her botany, starts these intellectual salons, even has a relationship with a guy named George Gray.
Okay.
Keeps it quiet, though.
Yeah.
Very hush-hush.
Makes sense.
Right. Having a child outside of marriage. Scandalous.
Huge scandal back then.
Oh, yeah. So she had some tough choices to make.
Definitely.
Not a lot of options for women back then.
No, not at all.
And then enters Andrew Robinson Stoney.
Ooh, new guy.
Irish soldier. Head over heels for Mary Eleanor, seemingly. Charming, attentive, passionate, the whole bet.
Sounds almost too good to be true.
And that's because it was. This is where the manipulation starts.
Here we go.
Stoney, he was a master of deception. Their whole courtship was a performance.
Wow.
Staged. He even stages a duel to defend Mary Eleanor's honor.
Hold on. A duel? Like with swords?
Yep, because there were these nasty rumors about her going around.
Oh, wow. So chivalrous.
And of course it worked. Now remember, Mary Eleanor is actually pregnant with Gray's child at this time.
Oh, right.
But she feels this pressure to marry Stoney.
Oh, I bet. This guy's risking his life for her.
Exactly. Except his injuries were totally fake.
What? No way.
And so was his whole military persona.
So he wasn't even a real captain.
Nope. Spent a little time in the army, sure. But mostly known for gambling, womanizing, and guess what?
What?
Turns out, abused his first wife too.
Oh.
This was his pattern. Target wealthy women, drain their resources, and leave them high and dry.
Oh, so Mary Eleanor was just the next target.
Exactly. What a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's more than just a love story gone wrong, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It's like, how did he fool everyone for so long?
Well, that's what we'll uncover in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Stay with us. We'll get into the really shocking stuff. How Stoney manipulated everyone, and how Mary Eleanor fought back against all odds. It's about so much more than a bad romance.
I bet.
It's about resilience, about justice, about one woman challenging an entire society that was trying to control her. Okay, so we left off with Mary Eleanor and Stoney married.
Hmm.
You'd think, all right, happy ending,
I
right?
would hope so.
But no. It all goes downhill almost immediately.
Oh.
Like a switch flipped the second they said, I do.
Wow.
Stoney's true colors come out.
It's that classic abuse pattern, isn't it?
It is, sadly. No honeymoon phase at all. Stoney starts isolating her, controlling her whole life.
Oh, I bet.
What she wears, who she talks to, total power and control.
Awful.
And you know what's really messed up? He uses her love of learning against her.
What? Really?
Remember, she's super into botany.
Yeah.
He bans her from even going into her own gardens.
Oh, wow. So cruel.
Like he's trying to just crush any part of her that brings her joy.
Yeah, it's like a form of torture, you know? Psychological torture.
It is. And think about it. Back then, divorce. Nearly impossible.
Especially for women. Right.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't just say, I want out.
Right.
You had to prove adultery, humiliating details in public.
Oh, God, I bet.
And then get an act of parliament.
That's expensive, isn't it?
Super expensive. The system was totally rigged.
Against women?
Yep. Women were basically property back then.
Wow.
No protection from violence or anything.
He's hard to even imagine.
And then, get this. Stoney forces Mary Eleanor to write this document. He calls it The Confessions of the Countess of Strathmore.
Confession.
Yeah. He makes her list out all these supposed wrongdoings.
Yeah.
Past relationships, even her abortions.
Oh, God, that's just...
Awful.
Yeah. It shows how much control he had over her, right?
Totally. Like, he's trying to break her down completely, make her believe she deserves this abuse.
It's just manipulation at its worst.
It is. But then, a glimmer of hope. Mary Eleanor gets a new maid. Mary Morgan.
Okay.
Finally, someone sees what's going on.
Yeah.
Believes Mary Eleanor. Wants to help.
That's so important, you know, that support system.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes just having one person who believes you can make all the difference.
Totally.
So with Mary Morgan's help, Mary Eleanor starts to take action. Secretly consults with a barrister.
Risky move.
Oh, incredibly risky. But she's not giving up.
It's a turning point, right?
It is. She's done being a victim.
Yeah.
Gathering information, building her case, planning her escape.
Wow.
And the escape itself, it's like something out of a movie. Sneaks out of the house disguised as a servant.
No way.
Her maids are creating diversions. She's running for her life.
Wow.
With Stoney on her tail.
That takes guts.
Oh, yeah. Imagine the courage it took to just run like that.
I know.
And this is just the beginning. Free from Stoney, physically, sure. But the real battle, the legal battle, it's just starting.
Oh, yeah, the courts.
She files for divorce. Huge deal back then.
Right. Like we said, scandal, especially for a woman of her stature, long, drawn-out process.
And so public.
Oh, yeah.
Intense scrutiny.
And she manages to build a case anyway. Amazing.
I know. Limited resources, the whole society against her, but she finds a way. Her maids, other servants, even some of Stoney's previous victims come forward to testify.
Wow.
Right. They're risking a lot to speak out.
Oh, yeah. This guy, Stoney, he was connected.
Totally. Not afraid to use intimidation tactics either.
But they did it anyway. That's incredible.
It is. Power of truth, I guess. And of course, Stoney, he doesn't just sit back and take this. He tries to discredit Mary Eleanor, play the victim, even fakes his own suicide.
What? No way.
Try and derail everything.
He's relentless.
Totally. But Mary Eleanor, she just keeps pushing forward.
Yeah.
Then, just when it seems like she's making progress, Stoney does something truly shocking.
Oh, no. What?
He kidnaps her.
He kidnapped her.
In broad daylight. With witnesses.
I can't believe it.
I know. And he gets away with it. For a while, at least. Moves her from place to place. Even pretends she's his delusional patient.
Oh, wow. To stop people from helping.
Exactly. It shows how vulnerable women were back then.
Yeah. And how easily men like Stoney could take advantage of that.
Exactly. But Mary Eleanor, her spirit is not broken. She escapes with the help of a stranger and heads back to London.
Wow.
Determined to see Stoney brought to justice. So Mary Eleanor's back in London after that crazy escape from Stoney. She's been through a lot, but she's not giving up.
And that kidnapping, it actually kind of helps her in the end.
Really? How so?
Well, it creates this huge wave of public sympathy. People see Stoney for what he really is.
I see, yeah. It backfires on him.
Big time. Remember, he tries to play the victim, right? Claims he's sick, even fakes a collapse in court.
Oh, right. The whole drama.
But it didn't work.
Nope. The judge, he wasn't buying it. Throws Stoney in jail, sets a crazy high bail. Even the crowd turns on him.
Wow. booing him as he's taken away.
Oh, yeah. Talk about a fall from grace.
I mean, part of me is like, serves him right.
Right.
But Stoney's not done yet. He uses his connections to try and spin the story in the press.
Of course. Classic Stoney.
Paint Mary Eleanor in a bad light.
He's a master manipulator, isn't he?
Yeah. Accuses her of having affairs, tries to ruin her reputation.
Oh, I bet.
But his worst move, he reveals those confessions that he forced Mary Eleanor to write.
Oh, no. Not those.
Yep. Uses them to make her look unstable, promiscuous.
That's just low, even for him.
It is. But thankfully the judge, she sees through it, dismisses the confessions as irrelevant to the divorce.
Good.
But the damage is done. The press, they go wild with the story. Public opinion starts to shift.
It's crazy how powerful a story can be, even if it's not true. Totally. But Mary Eleanor keeps fighting. She pushes forward with the divorce and a separate criminal trial against Stoney for the kidnapping.
Wow. She's juggling a lot.
It's amazing. All this while dealing with the trauma of the abuse.
She's so strong. It's inspiring.
It is. Stoney tries to bribe witnesses, hire people to harass her, but she doesn't back down.
Wow.
And in the end, it pays off. She wins the criminal trial.
Yes.
Stoney gets 3 years in prison.
Finally.
And even better, she wins the lawsuit about their prenup, gets control of her fortune back.
That's huge. Not just for her, but for other women too, right?
It is. It challenged the whole system, the laws, everything. It paved the way for some big changes down the line.
Even though real equality was still a long way off.
Right. But it's bittersweet, you know. Even in prison, Stoney lives it up.
Okay.
Parties, spending Mary Eleanor's money.
That figures.
Never really takes responsibility for what he did.
Typical.
Finally, after all these years of fighting, Mary Eleanor gets her divorce.
She's free.
Free. But, you know, the whole thing took its toll. She chooses to live a quieter life after that. Focuses on her kids, her love of animals.
Understandable. She needed to heal.
Right. And there's this detail that always stuck with me. She asked to be buried in her wedding dress. The one from her first marriage.
Wow.
Like, even after everything, a part of her still wanted that fairy tale ending.
That's kind of heartbreaking.
It is. But her story isn't just about being a victim, you know? It's about resilience.
Right. About strength.
About fighting for what's right.
It makes you think, what are we accepting today that we shouldn't? What needs to change?
Exactly. Mary Eleanor's story shows us that things can change, that one person can make a difference, that the fight for equality, it never really ends.
Powerful legacy.
It is. Well, that's our deep dive into the incredible life of Mary Eleanor Bowes. I hope you found it as fascinating as we did.
If you want to learn more about her and about women in the 18th century, I definitely encourage you to do some research. It's a reminder of how far we've come and how far we still need to go.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more stories like this. We'll see you next time.